Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be talking about suicide, and quite frankly I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to say. I can tell you that I've been nervous because I feel like I'm not the best person to be talking about this. I'm not an expert, I don't have any personal experience with suicidal thoughts, or I don't know anybody who's committed suicide, who is close to me, and because of that, I know that there are a bunch of people that are better than me that could be talking about this. But I do understand that I do have a part to play in this discussion because I talk a lot about depression. And what I learned recently when I began to be curious about why it is that people kill themselves is that depression seems to be one of the most common factors among most people who are suicidal. And that untreated depression is the number one cause for suicide. I know that I haven't really done that much research on it, so maybe my sources aren't the best sources. Maybe these facts, these things that I say aren't completely accurate, but that's beside the point. The point is that there are people in this world that are thinking about taking their own life, and something needs to be done about it. And everyone, I don't care if you're suicidal, I don't care if you're not suicidal. The fact is that our mental health is so fragile. Anybody could have something happen to them in their life that changes their state of mind. Because depression, there's a lot of things that go into depression. Some of it's genetic, some of it's just the chemicals in your brain, but a lot of it can be due to the fact that you go through a lot of really negative experiences in your life. Somebody you know dies, you break up with somebody, you go through a divorce, you have a very bad illness, you've gone through a traumatic event. And I think that a lot of things when it comes to traumatic events where you're abused physically, emotionally, sexually, a lot of that is stuff that most people don't go through. So in many cases, if you're going through something that is so terrible, you're the victim of a hate crime, people don't accept who you are because of something about you, your sexual orientation, your race, your religion, whatever it is, that is in many ways a unique situation that not everybody has to go through. And the only thing that I can really say about that is that alone is not a reason to kill yourself. There's really no reason to kill yourself, because at the end of the day, the hope for you in your own life can be restored. You can find something in your life that you love. You can find something that keeps you going. But the problem is that right now, you can't see that because of everything happening to you. I do believe that there is a way to change the way that you see the world, to change the way that you see yourself, to completely shift your feelings, and to really eliminate suicidal thoughts. And it's to realize that your life is worth living. That is what the only message is that should ever be said about suicide, is that your life is worth living. Now, I know that I play a part in this conversation because the one thing that you'll hear me say over and over again, you probably heard it before if you watched any other of my videos, is that I've experienced feelings of being lonely. I've experienced feelings of not being accepted or not being understood. I've experienced feelings of hopelessness, like things won't get better. I've felt trapped in my own life in many ways. So I can definitely relate to the depression experience of it. But granted, my depression has not been severe. At many points, I would say it was really close to being severe, but I never went too long of a time period where I had severe depression, where I was going crazy, doing terrible things. Never once has the thought crossed my mind to physically hurt myself. And I don't know what that is. I don't know why that is. I think it's because I've just always had this thing in me that's always wanted to live. I've always known that there was hope to get better, even if in the situation, in particular moments of my life, I always wondered, I've always maybe thought at times that nothing was worth it. But the things come around. Your mind can get there. You can get to the point where those feelings, those negative experiences that you're going through, become a thing of the past. So what I would like to state, what I would like to stand for, is this idea of mental strength, being able to endure all of these negative life experiences and still make it through it. The most important thing, though, is to give up the need to be certain things, to give up the desire to be like everybody else, to not feel like you have to be a certain way, to understand that there is no right or wrong thing to be. There is no bad decision that you can make. Yes, bad things are going to happen to you. Yes, bad things are going to happen that are unfortunate. There are going to be terrible things. There are going to be things that shock you, surprise you, a sudden breakup, somebody just suddenly dying in your life. There's going to be things where you get abused out of nowhere. There might be things where you have people saying bad things about you that you just don't expect it. Those are traumatic events. Those are going to affect you. But at the end of the day, you're going to be okay. At the end of the day, those things don't determine the value of your life. And I think that if you can begin to understand that, that is going to help you a lot. There is no right or wrong way to live. You can't be the wrong person. Your life is not necessarily an accident. I'm not saying that you necessarily do have a purpose in your life, because it might be that you have to create that purpose or you have to find that purpose. But I am saying that there is a reason. There is value in your existence. It might be a journey to find that. But you have to be willing to go along with that journey. You have to be somebody who can get through things. Because you can. You don't need anything special. There's nothing special about the people out there who seem to have the perfect life. The people that you compare yourself to, first of all, you have to stop doing that. Stop comparing yourself to other people. But remember, the people that you do compare yourself to, that you believe have it so great, it might turn out that they don't have it that great. That maybe if you really get to know somebody that you admire, that you think is perfect, if you really get to know them, you might discover that they have so many problems as well. That their life might be messed up just like yours, or in a different way than yours. But the thing to remember is that there's nothing special about the people that seem to have everything going for them. And that you can be just like anybody else. But again, it's not good to compare yourself to other people, because that leads you to feeling like you're not good enough. That leads you to feeling like a failure. So yeah, the big thing here is to remember that you don't need anything. You don't need a lot of money. You don't need a lot of house. You don't need to have a lot of friends. You don't need to live in a big house. You don't need the best stuff. You don't need anything. You don't need anything at all. The only thing that you need is to be alive. And just knowing that the only thing that the main thing that you value is life takes away any question of suicide. Now, I might be completely out of my depth here. I might be talking out of nothing. I might be talking out of nowhere. I might not have anything, any real facts. I might not have any real, understanding of these things to, form my foundation of this conversation on. But I can say that I have gone through things in my life where I've been depressed and I felt hopeless, not wanting to go any further. But once you get further in your life, that brings you joy. When you set a little goal for yourself and it goes well, that's one more reason to live. So maybe you're setting expectations way up here that are completely unreasonable. And you also do just have to be prepared for the worst to happen. You have to be aware of what could potentially happen to you. And be prepared that things are not going to go perfectly, that things might not be okay. I do think that a lot of depression, there is one big thing that I've noticed within myself and that I've noticed that is being talked about with people who have depression, is perfectionism. And all or nothing thinking. Everything has to be right. Everything has to be perfect. Or else it's not worth it. Or else it's not something that, you should keep pursuing. It's not something that, you should have, for anything, But specifically, think about yourself. And remember that you don't have to be perfect. You have to overcome that mindset. That mindset that you're in is wrong. Things don't have to be perfect. And when you begin to realize that nothing in life is perfect, nor should it be, and that you're not perfect, and you shouldn't be perfect, there's no such thing, that's when you're going to realize what it means to accept something, to love something. So if you want to accept yourself, and if you want to love yourself, you have to take away those expectations and realize that you love yourself just the way you are. Because that is the way you are. That this idea of perfectionism, this idea that things have to be a certain way, that's all in your mind. It doesn't really exist. So I don't know if that's why I don't know if that's why you might be suicidal. I don't know if that's why everybody is going to commit suicide. But I do know that that part is something that I can talk about. And I know that that is where my understanding lies, because of my own education, my own experience, and I've definitely thought about these things before. I've just never connected them with suicide. So suicide is a big problem, and it's not something that should be taken lightly, because everybody has a mind that can be like lost at any moment, or because the mind is fragile. The mind is vulnerable. When it's strong, it's in good health, it's in good condition, just like your body is. But if you don't feed it the right stuff, if you don't do the right things, if you don't go through some important exercises, for the mind it's your thinking, then you can lose that health. And it might cause you to get into this state where you're not healthy. And so if you're suicidal, if you ever get to the point where you are suicidal, the most important thing is to realize that your mental health is what's bringing you to this point. And that treatment is always the best thing to do. But at the end of the day, just feel good about yourself. Just accept yourself the way that you are. I'm here to tell you that you are good enough. And that there's a lot to live for in your life, if you can find it. Anything that has happened to you that's in the past, you don't have to forget what happened to you. You don't have to try to pretend like it didn't happen. Some things that you have suffered through have completely happened. And as tragic as they might have been, as traumatic as they might have been, it's real. And it's something that in your experience, your life, if you can just understand that, it might help you out. It might give you the strength to move forward. And the best thing is, if you also know that there are other people in the world that you can help by sharing your story, by talking about it, it's going to make things a lot easier for you to know that you're not alone. Because you're not alone. In fact, I encourage you and anybody else who has had any experience with suicide to leave a comment, to bring it out in the open so we all know that there is something there. This is my effort to raise awareness for it. I don't know exactly if what I said is what you wanted or what you expected. But again, I have to say that I'm not an expert, and I can only play my part. There's so many more parts to play in this. It's a majorly complex issue. So for me, this is a big step because I've finally done this. I finally talked about it when I was so nervous to. And I desperately want this to be meaningful to somebody. I think that some of the main things that I target, the topics that I target when I make a video, it's how do you feel about yourself? How do you perceive the situations? And how do you respond to things? And what do you do about it? And for me, it's inspiring when people make the best thing happen when they're at their weakest point, because I think that the more you struggle, the more you're going to really figure things out. And I hope that this is just the beginning for you and not the end. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Kenneth Stahl. Please check out my other videos, follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'll see you in my next video.